So we're starting to see that DVDs, VHS, Blu-rays are making a comeback, particularly because streaming services keep nuking content. I saw recently that Westworld is no longer available to be seen on HBO, which is wild. It was like a huge show that people would watch like every Sunday. A couple of cartoons have been taken off of WB, a Cartoon Network. We've lost all these shows and won't be able to like see them again unless they come out in like DVD. We're also seeing that like the Criterion Closet has become a huge thing. I always see that, Stars, it's like, part of the movie promotional tours that they have, going on. They'll go, into the Criterion Closet and choose like the 5 movies that like, have changed their lives or that like, made them think about the movie that they're currently in. Something that's very related to like, what they're talking about. And so now you have fans lining up to get the physical discs. They line up for like starting at like 3:30 in the morning, which is kind of crazy. But it keeps, going back to this idea that people want to have these experiences. And if you're like a movie buff, going to this, to the Criterion Closet and getting to hang out with other people that are super into movies is like one of those experiences that like you just can't like buy anymore. Barnes & Noble is now partnering with Criterion Closet in order to start selling more DVDs because they're seeing that like those sales are going up. Barnes & Noble's obviously, they already have books. Barnes & Noble also sells like records that they've seen like, people are kind of keeping as collector's items. So there's this whole rise in like physical products that people are buying. One of the other ones that like we've seen are like at movie theaters, the popcorn buckets are becoming like a thing. And it's all these things that like people want to buy in order to have like to have a physical product. I think this taps into a lot of nostalgia marketing again, like remembering Blockbuster when you used to go in and like see the physical DVDs. I'm seeing a lot more of like people like with the idea that like it was easier to choose a movie when you had like a limited number of videos that you could like watch versus now when it's like you have so many different options and every streaming platform has a completely different like set of movies. And then even some movies can't even be found anymore. You have to like rent them or buy them. At least that's still an option. Another thing that I'm noticing here is the whole idea of scarcity, which is what we talked about last week. I think people are starting to realize that they actually want to own the physical products again, especially of their favorite things. So that's pretty cool that we're seeing that. I'm also seeing that there's a rise in like physical literature, like zines, which are self-published, small batched, independent publications. Basically, I've seen a few like in the tech world that are like coming out, which are pretty cool. It's essentially like special versions of the content that they have digitally.
Oh,
and
that's
then
fun.
yeah.
I feel like zines were like the original Substack.
Yeah,
they were more
exactly.
popular in, I believe, like the mid 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they were gone, obviously.
Exactly. Yeah. So now they're coming back because people are like, well, I want to be able to read it like as a physical copy. So I think that's really cool. We're also seeing new versions of books coming out, like the really like beautiful, like elaborate ones, which I've talked about before. But we see the companies and like the publishers coming out with new versions so that you get new audiences and you have like collectible items basically. So I think that's kind of the through line that I'm seeing here, that it's becoming more of a like collecting a collectible. People are wanting to create collections of things that they love. So think about how you can, come out with stuff like that. Like if you are having experiences like at trade conferences or, all events that like people are going to attend, like how can you create special items that like bring people together? Another way to think about it is like, is there specific merch that you as like a company can like have for like your employees or early supporters, where it's a special like one-off item that like makes people want to keep it? I found like with companies a lot of the time they just don't really think about swag as a thing that like matters. It's just like, oh, just buy, like whatever. And it's like, maybe if you're a little bit more thoughtful about what you're buying and like, putting your name on, you'll be excited to like share it. And then you'll get other traffic because, people, post about it online or something.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said for thinking about these opportunities to drive interesting experiences. What else am I thinking about?
I think that's like the theme for today's podcast,
it's like
is experiences.
right? Thinking about experiences, scarcity, tapping into people's identities and like how they share their values or how they express who they are.
Hmm.
I think a lot of that, I feel like we're seeing a lot of that, especially with this return to analog stuff. I think this has me thinking about two kind of related things. One, for K-pop Demon Hunters, right? It's Juggernaut on Netflix. They're doing a couple of limited screenings at Regal theaters where
Oh, I
they're
love that.
meant to be sing-alongs. I think so far
Yeah.
there are only 2 dates, but they're meant to be sing-alongs.
Yeah.
I assume people are going to dress up, because why wouldn't you?
Yeah. Why wouldn't you?
And like that's a super interesting model. Like that's kind of a
Yeah.
version of physical,
Mhm.
right? Going to a movie theater. But now that there's this established fandom, this fan base, like now there's every reason to go to a theater, right? Because
Yeah.
you want to experience that music live or live in some way. And
Mhm.
because it's an animated fictional band, you can't exactly buy tickets to a show, but this is the ticket to that show,
Yeah,
right?
that's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, so that's kind of
Um,
fun. The
yeah, yeah,
other
yeah.
thing, yeah,
I
did
wonder
you?
if it's just yeah, sorry. Just
Yeah,
you mentioned that it's just 2 movie theaters. Like that seems like super low, and I assume it's just gonna be what, LA and New York?
probably it's at Regal theaters. I think they just
Yeah.
have 2 dates, but
Yeah, yeah.
I
But
hope
maybe from
more.
that it'll grow to something else. Because that
I
was
hope
one thing I
so.
wanted to bring up last time was that just questioning why it was just a Netflix like streaming and it wasn't out in the movie theaters, probably because it was animated and they didn't think people would come out for it. But certainly now that they've have they know that the fan base is there. I do wonder what they're going to do for the sequel, like whether that'll have a theatrical run so that people will come out.
Yeah, they have to. I mean, it'll
Yeah.
be a couple of years probably, but they have to.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, here's hoping. I think that's
Yeah.
one of those things where one of the things I've seen too is that you have like the actors and like the directors showing up to screenings here in LA. I mean, they're super close by, it totally makes sense. But I'm seeing the traffic that's being generated by that because people are recording it and showing that they're there, they're being interviewed, they're showing up like unannounced. So that's a pretty cool way to get people to experience the movie in a different way that also
Yeah.
like adds on to like clearly that the people that are showing up at like on Friday or Thursday at midnight are like the hardcore fans that like really want to be there. So if you really want to like treat your biggest fans, like there's no like this is super easy like win, I think.
Yeah. Wait, that reminds me. Did you see that when the Minecraft movie was out, Jack Black went to a couple of screenings and not screenings, but a couple of the showings where
Right.
there's the part when Chicken Jockey comes out
Yeah.
that I think theater goers were like getting rowdy and throwing their popcorn and stuff.
Oh my god.
And so like theaters started issuing a warning to people like, hey, like during that scene, like don't do that.
Oh.
And then Jack Black showed up to do one of those announcements.
Did he show up and throw popcorn, or like they were
No,
saying
no,
don't
to
throw the
say
popcorn?
like, hey, don't do that. Like,
Oh, got it.
to warn people to not do that.
Oh, that's so funny. I thought they were saying it like, don't do it because Jack Black is going to be here. And like,
Oh,
you
no,
don't
no,
be
no.
throwing
Just
popcorn
they're
at
just saying
him.
like, please don't do this. Like, don't get too
Yeah.
crazy.
Oh, I love that. That's really cool because it's like,
Yeah.
it shows that they're like paying attention, to like what's happening for like their movies. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, your second
I
thing.
want to say one quirky thing.
Yeah.
I went on a trip with some girlfriends a few months back, and one of our friends was like kind of the designated driver for the most part, or one of them. She still burns CDs. So the music she was playing in the
Wow.
car were from her CDs, and I saw her change one of the CDs out, and I was like, "Is that a CD player? Wait, is that a CD? Did you make a mixtape?"
Oh my God.
And she was like, "Yeah, I still burn my CDs." And I'm like, "You still have a CD burner? That's
Wow.
amazing." And I just had so many questions. I was like, "Why?" My first
What'd she
question.
say?
She was just like, I don't know. She's like, I don't like the idea of having to depend on Spotify to stream my music or anything like that. She's like, I like that I can just put in my CD. I know what I'm going to get and it's not going to skip or bug out. Like, I just have my music there.
Interesting.
Yeah, I was like, respect.
It also means she has complete control over the music.
Right. Yeah, the other thing, I'm like, she's probably buying all this music.
Yeah, that's
I think
wild.
she is.
Yeah. I mean, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's one thing I was like posting about recently because I got rid of my we had the original Disney like the big white like VHSs, and then I got rid of them because everything's going online, and then now they're coming back and I'm like, oh could have gotten a pretty penny for those.
Bummer.
No, but I mean, I think it's interesting that it's happening. It does suck that like we're losing so much art, you know, because streamers are taking it down. They're like, well, they don't want to pay for it, or you know, it's not worth keeping on or whatever. But I think it's also allowing people to kind of come together in a way that they hadn't before, because they're realizing that something might not last forever. And you know, again, having that scarcity, you know, mentality helps people to kind of coalesce around it a little bit more and like value it a little bit more, you know? So it's like I see the movie going experience, you know, potentially changing as people become more open to like maybe meeting more people and like forming a community because they're discovering, you know, these things. Like imagine, you know, the folks going to the K-pop Demon Hunters, like, you know, showing when that happens. It's like, hey, I know I'm going to like all these people because they love this thing that I love as much as I do. So maybe it also helps to create, you know, and like bonds people a little bit more because of these
Yeah.
experiences.